This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder with 7 drive modes. The Pathfinder is built for even the most epic journeys. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Here we go.
Hey, Pachi.
Hey, Sufi.
How are you?
I'm great.
You just got back to California from your East Coast wedding venue search.
Yeah, it was quite a swing because I went home for a little bit.
Yeah.
Then I went to Mackenzie's hometown, Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts, and then we sort of bopped around, mostly in like the Catskills for a couple days, but we saw a lot of venues in just 2 days, really.
Yeah.
And we didn't set up appointments. We just sort of showed up.
Right.
Which I feel like, I don't know if people like it when you do that, but everyone was very accommodating. I think because they know if you have a wedding there, you're probably going to spend a lot of money there. So it is part of their deal is to be nice to those people. Yeah. So we saw some great stuff. We got, there's a couple places that are in the running. And yeah.
Speaking of in the running, I'm, again, get married when you want to get married at the venue you want to get married at. With that said, I think there's this real window right now where my daughter Addie would be great running down an aisle at a wedding. Like maybe as a ring bearer, she basically never walks. She always runs. And when she runs, she looks like she's going to tip over. And I do think I would hate for you to miss this hilarious window.
Yeah. I mean, I think we would love to figure out how to do it this year, but a lot of these places are booked up. And so that would be, we're looking at 2025, which is not ideal, but I don't know. It might have to be the way it goes.
Kids, do you think you're going to encourage people to invite children or no children?
Well, I don't want to give too much away.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
In terms of your stand-up, but also when I was home, I got to see you do stand-up. And you seem to imply don't have kids at your wedding.
Yeah. But you have to have mine.
Yeah, I guess.
You do have to have mine at your wedding.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't make it.
But your kids
they
are coming?
are going to come and they're just going to be great. They're going to be there as my proxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited. And it was nice to see some places that actually would be like really fun.
We've talked a lot about how Mackenzie's an equestrian. What are the odds she comes down the aisle on a horse?
0%.
0%. You're certain?
Yeah. Down the aisle, 0%. Like on the approach,
Yeah, okay.
I'd put it at like 5% or even less.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
don't think she wants that. Also, she doesn't have a horse back east. Like if we're looking back east, I could see if we were doing it here, her saying like, I want to ride Frankie in, and because he's our horse. And she would want Frank to be there, and she'd trailer him up there and wherever it's going to be, but not to the East Coast.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad told me they did want to ride in on horses.
Same horse or different horses?
Well, this is the hard. They actually want to be a pantomime horse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who gets to be the front?
Well, I think Mom would probably insist.
Yeah, I think so too.
I feel like that would be. Do you think Mom and Dad could be a pantomime horse for an hour and not get divorced?
For an hour?
Yeah,
That's
just
a
an
long
hour.
time.
But they have to do stuff. They can't just stand in one place. They're a pantomime horse, and they got to get through a corn maze.
I feel like when they're walking upstairs, sometimes Dad will put like the crown of his head against Mom's butt and say pantomime horse.
Yeah, so they do have a little bit of training.
Yeah. But a staircase is an ideal circumstance for that. It's once you're on flat land that it starts to become very problematic.
I don't have a lot of hope for them as a pantomime horse. I feel like.
Yeah. No. You were a trooper this last weekend. I saw you a couple times. I saw you on both weekends.
Yeah.
But we had a friend. So you do stand up in Boston, which is great.
Thank you.
And then our friend Mike Lazaro had his 50th birthday party in New York, and you were up in Connecticut, and you drove into the city.
I did.
got to the party right at like 7:30.
Yeah.
And then at 10 o'clock, it was the Saturday before Mother's Day, you're like, I got to get back up to Connecticut because tomorrow's Mother's Day and we've got all these kids and it's going to be the big day for Alexi. And you bounced right out of there.
I did. I felt like I ticked a couple boxes. Got my buddy's birthday and also got Mother's Day.
Yeah, you partied pretty hard. You were on the dance floor.
I was feeling pretty good. It was a good night.
Yeah.
You, though, then I heard that you maybe stayed till 2 a.m?
I went to bed at 2 a.m, but I was there. I was there as late as it could go. There was this great 80s cover band called Rubik's Cube, who had a costume change for like every
exceptional
song.
Yeah, there was a male lead singer and a female lead singer. And so when it was a male lead singer song, the female lead singer was doing her costume change. And then she would come out dressed like Cyndi Lauper. And then he would come back. And then he'd come out like Flock of Seagulls. And she'd go. It was amazing.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's a 50th birthday. So we're getting older. Mm-hmm. And they finished what felt like an impossibly long set and said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for another set. And I was like, you are? You're coming back? And it was a break to do the cake and to do some speeches.
It was also a costume party. I don't love a costume party either, but I did put in as good an effort as I could do for a costume party. It was you dress up like your favorite 80s character. I dressed up like MacGyver, but really, if we're being honest, MacGruber.
Yeah. Which after you were gone, the lead singer said, I think someone was dressed up like Josh Myers, was doing a Josh Myers. And I think that was about your costume.
Oh, that's really funny. You were Wesley from Princess Bride.
Yes, Wesley.
Wesley. And Mackenzie was one of the Robert Palmer girls. Mm-hmm. And both of those all turned up with other people.
Yeah, 2 Wesleys, 3 Robert Palmer dancers.
And in the end, 3 Robert Palmer dancers is good because they almost always came in threes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never, I mean, there was maybe a couple shots of just one of them, but the whole thing was there was a group of them.
It was a really good party.
Yeah, fun party. Yeah.
Well done. This is a wonderful conversation with Jo Koy, who's a lovely gentleman.
Yeah.
Who has a fascinating life. And we do hope you enjoy the conversation with him. And we also hope you enjoy the theme song by our friend Jeff Tweedy.
Family trips with the Myers brothers. Family trips with the Myers brothers. Here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey.
Jo Koy!
Oh,
How are you?
I'm good now.
It's so nice to see you, Joe.
Oh, thank you so much, Seth.
I'm very embarrassed by the fact that I did not know Jo Koy was not your given name.
I always made sure, like, I love my real name. And and like when I was a kid, my nickname was my last name. Herbert is my real last name. I'm half white, half Filipino. And so my whole life, I was always going by as Herbert until I started going on stage and it was a thing. Like no one can pronounce my name for some reason. Like, when you do open mics, it was like, okay, we have Joseph Abear, we have Joseph Hebert. Yeah. It was just, it was getting to the point, and then people would make fun of it. They would do a joke, like, you know what I mean? And it just got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to go with my nickname. And that was my aunt. My aunt is the one that always calls me Jo Koy. But and the way she says it isn't the way we say it. So we say it phonetically, Jo Koy. She says it Jo Koy. So anyway, that's the short story.
And how old were you when you got the nickname from your aunt?
Oh, she always called me it. But I just didn't. I never like, when I started doing stand-up, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna have a name. Like I never thought about using my name. I just went as Joseph Herbert. I didn't know that was a funny thing.
I will say, knowing about the sort of host at a stand-up night, I can see why at some point you just have to bail on Joseph Herbert, because that does seem like the name that they would do like really hacky jokes about, and then you'd have to just win back an audience who decided you stunk.
Yeah. And it's 5 minutes, by the way. You get 5 minutes at a coffee house. You don't want to clean up. Yeah.
I will say, I think Netflix would not even put up a tile that said live with Joseph Herbert.
Joseph
You're very
Herbert,
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it says TED Talk. If
Yeah,
it says
right.
TED Talk with Joseph Herbert, it's like everyone's tuning in.
Were you Myers for a while, Seth, with our friends like from growing up? Because I feel like
nobody ever called me Myers.
my New Hampshire friends did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only ever been Seth.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, fun.
Never a last name. Yeah, fun. So you mentioned half white, half Filipino.
Yeah.
Your dad military, that's when he met your mom?
That's when he met my mom. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I always say that was like one of the first jokes that I was opening for a comic, Corey Holcomb, and he was like, "Hey, you're real funny, but I don't know anything about you." That's what he said to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Where are you from? What are you? So why don't you talk about that?" And I literally it drove me mad because I was like, "Is he hating on me?" You know what I mean? Like I just killed in front of him, and that's what he says in the car ride home. And then I got it. I was like, "Oh, okay. Let me talk about what I am. Like, who am I?" And that was the first joke from that night, driving back from Palmdale, California, with Corey Holcomb. And I was just like, the first thing he said to me, "What are you?" And I go, "I'm half white, I'm half Asian," which means my dad's in the military. And it was the first joke. And that's from Corey Holcomb inspired that for me to say that.
I will say that's a real pro stand-up move. Guys who've been on stage a lot,
Yeah.
who appreciate the audience has to know something. If it's
Yeah.
just jokes, you just go in and out of their head. But if
Yeah.
you give them some personal information, some of your bio, I think that's what makes you sticky with audiences.
I understood what he said by that. And I was still young by that. That I didn't have that was like 25 years ago when I was opening for Corey Holcomb. So I was still new to the road. And then, here's this guy that's just, he's an improv guy. And I was just like, oh God, this guy headlines the improvs. I just, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad he said that to me. I'm glad that was the guy that said it to me. So
It's also a great joke. And I think
thank you.
it's also a very endearing joke. And I think, it's the math of that joke is so perfectly airtight.
My favorite part of that joke is because it's actually about my stepdad too as well. So I fused two dads together. So because they're both of them were in the military, both of them were white, and then the second part of that joke is my dad is borderline racist. He used to say things like, you know why I married your mama? And I'm like, why? Because I love Chinese food. She's Filipino, Fred. And he's like, whatever. Rice is rice. and the thing about that joke was, it's not even a joke. He really said that. And that was the times we lived in. Like you're talking about a stepdad from West Virginia. He just served 2 terms in he did do 2 tours of Vietnam, and you know what I mean? He's from West Virginia, and that to him, he wasn't being racist. It's just that was the America he lived in at that time. And
Sure.
And as an Asian kid, that's what you're like, yeah, of course. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right. Rice is rice. But that was really something he always said to me. So I always made sure that I gave Fred his props because he always said rice is rice. And,
So your dad convinces your mom. Did they get married when they got back to the States?
my mom and dad got married when, they got married overseas in
Okay,
Japan.
gotcha.
So I'm actually from Misawa, Japan, but that's military.
Right.
Yeah.
Military is just, every 2 years I was in a different place. So,
And you've got siblings, yeah?
oh yeah.
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 And where do you fall? You've got 3 siblings, I want to say?
I have my sister Gemma, who runs everything, who you guys are probably communicating with. And that's she's second. I don't know. She's right after me. And then Rowena is after her. And then my brother Robert is the eldest.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
And where are they all now? Are they spread out?
Robert's in Vancouver, Washington, and then Rowena is in Vegas. And so, and my sister and I are in LA.
I'm glad you mentioned, so that's Vancouver, Washington in America.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I once was in Vancouver, Canada, working on a movie, and I had a stand-up show in Seattle, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to book a train ticket. That's so great. And then I got to the Vancouver train station, and they said, we don't have a train that goes to America.
That's so funny.
You booked a ticket from a different Vancouver, and I had a real. I feel like I'm in my mid-30s. I feel like I should know there's a second nearby Vancouver.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, to be honest, I lived in Washington my whole life, and I just recently found out that there's a Vancouver, Washington. So I don't want to sit here and act like judgment. I wanted to laugh at you, but then I'm like, yeah, man, I just found out too. I was probably on that train.
So you were born in Washington or in Japan?
Japan, Misawa.
Wow. Okay.
I know. And you know what's crazy is I had a chance at 18 to claim dual citizenship, and I should have did it. Just so I had that Japanese passport. You know, like now, you don't think anything of it, but man, it would have been nice to have it. So
just offering it to you. The second passport. That's the life of a international superstar.
Right?
Yeah. Or if something goes south with your American personality, then you can just be like,
konnichiwa.
Chuck
exactly.
it. That's not me
Domo
anymore.
arigato. I'm out of here.
Exactly.
You've already changed your name once.
You're cancel proof when you got that second passport.
What?
You got somewhere else to go where they don't know anything.
Superstar Japan. I'm live in Tokyo.
Have you done shows? Have you ever done a show in Japan?
Only military, and I got to perform in on the base that I was born on.
Wow.
So that was great. That was
Homecoming.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I have so much compassion for military. So whenever someone says they're military, it's just like, some people, a lot of people, they're ignorant in the sense that they don't know, right? But like just how hard military life is. It's like, it's not the soldier, but it's everyone in the family, man. Everyone is enlisted. Everyone. Like when the soldier has to move, so does the family. And it's rough on their psyche. You know what I mean? It's rough. It's just, I don't know how many new friends I had to go through every 2 years. And it crushed me to get up and just pack my bags and move to a different place and start all over again. And it's hard, man. It's a hard life. So hats off to them.
So when did you settle? Was your entire first 18 years that you were 2 years everywhere?
Yeah, well, it went Misawa, Illinois, Philippines. That was the best. We lived there for 5.5 years. And then Washington was Tacoma, Washington was where we settled.
Gotcha.
And then that's when my mom and dad divorced. So that's yeah. And then life changed when we got to Tacoma.
Yeah. What's the spread in years between you and your youngest brother?
My eldest brother. Man, he's 8 years older than me.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
8 years older than me. Mm-hmm. But we had a rough one. The family life was rough. So, like rough. So, but we won't talk about that part.
Well, you talk about the Philippines being the best. So what?
Best. All my greatest memories are from the Philippines. And I'm not saying that because, my mom is Filipino. And blah, blah. No, it was truly the best time. I lived during the Marcos administration. So that means there was U.S. presence there. There was military bases there. Everyone was making money. The Filipinos were making money. Americans had money. So everyone was living very well. I mean, yes, it was still a third world country, but I'm just saying, like, there was opportunity for a lot of people. So it was a different time. And I'm not celebrating the Marcos administration. You know what I mean? Not at all. I'm just saying the reason why I said that is that's what the last time the military was there.
Yeah,
sure.
And it was a different time. It was a lot of fun where I was on the base, but you could take your bike and ride off the base. And, here I am like 9 years old, in flip-flops and shorts, like living the island life. Like it was just the best memories of my childhood.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. This episode of Family Trips is supported by the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder.
From muddy jungle paths to snowy trails to rolling sand dunes, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has the capability to take you to some of the most epic destinations on Earth.
And we're excited to once again partner with Nissan because, as our listeners know, this podcast, Family Trips, is occasionally a podcast about trips and about the joy of having adventures and exploring new places and making memories.
And there's no better vehicle for chasing bigger, better, and more exciting adventures than the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. With 7 drive modes, the Pathfinder is available. Intelligent 4-wheel drive is built for even the most epic journeys.
And it even has up to 6,000 pounds of towing capacity, so you can bring the fun with you.
But Nissan also knows that it's not just about where you go. In a Pathfinder, the real fun comes from getting there.
Very well said, Pashi. Whether getting there is a new physical place or just the end of an amazing story told by one of our guests.
That's why we're excited to partner with Nissan to celebrate adventurers everywhere.
So thanks again to Nissan for supporting Family Trips and for the reminder to chase bigger, better, more exciting adventures and enjoy the ride along the way. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent 4-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
Family Trips is supported by DeleteMe. Hey, Pashi.
Yes, Sufi.
Do you like your information out in the street?
No.
Your private information for everybody to peruse through?
No.
Well, guess what?
What's that?
There's a solution, Posh.
I'm actually aware of this solution, but why don't you tell the people what it is?
It's called DeleteMe, and it finds and removes any personal information you don't want online and makes sure it stays off. DeleteMe is a subscription service that removes your personal info from the largest people search databases on the web, and in the process helps prevent potential ID theft, doxing, and phishing scams. And can I just say something, Pashi?
Yeah.
You know who's the most likely person to steal your identity?
You?
Yeah, we sound alike. I feel like I could get away with it.
Yeah.
But I can tell because that was my plan this last weekend. And I couldn't get any. I went online, couldn't get any of the info.
Well, that's because of DeleteMe. Thank you very much. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/trips and use promo code TRIPS at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/trips and enter code TRIPS at checkout.
Can I spell it?
Yeah, you can spell it.
JOINDELETME.com/trips.
Here we go.
Was the base islandy enough that was vacation, or did you in those years go places?
Oh, it was the best. It was, plus I had family there. So we would always go every weekend. We would go up to my aunt, the one that named me Jo Koy. She lived up in Manila. So we would take, every weekend we would go up to her. And then now we're in the city of Manila. You know what I mean? So like just seeing that as a kid and running through the streets again with all my cousins because we were all the same age. Like those were just the best memories. Like I can't even explain that environment. You know what I mean?
What is the vibe of Manila? I've never been there. So this is Manila in the 80s?
You would
We're talking.
Well, here's the thing. I just recently, I fly the whole family. That's always been my goal. When I started making money, I'm like, I never had a vacation because of the divorce. We never went on vacation. Vacation for me was just stay home and not go to school. So that's vacation. And I was like, no, when I start making money, I'm not going to separate the family because that's what happened to us. That's why I don't know anyone on my dad's side. I mean, I know them now because of what's happening in my career, but
because you have that money.
Yeah, it just sucks. I hate to say that, but it's like, but when we were broke, I didn't know anyone on my dad's side. We only knew everyone on my mom's side. It was kind of a horrible divorce. So it's like, I learned from that. When me and Angie divorced, I told her, we're not doing that. We're not going the route that my mom and dad did. I'm going to be your best friend. You don't have to get a lawyer. When I start making more money, I will increase whatever it is that you need. I will, and I stood by that. I bought her a house in front of my house, Seth.
You ruined your view.
I ruined everything. But I love it. Like it's the best of both worlds. My son loves it that his mom and dad are so close, and literally physically close as well with the house. And And I even told her, like, I'm not separating the family. I want, when I go on vacation, I'm not just going to take my side of the family and then you go and vacation with yours. We're all going. And this kid is going to grow with his family. That way, when we die, this continues on. Like, I'm not going to continue what my mom and dad did. You know what I mean? Which a lot of families do. They grow up separate and then they continue doing the same behavior. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. We're breaking this chain now.
Is your mom still around? Is she still with us?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, she's in Vegas as well.
That's great. So does she see your son all the time?
Yeah. Yeah. And my dad as well. My dad he's in Phoenix, so that's a little hard. But I fly him out to things and make sure that they all bond. It's an effort, man. It's a lot of effort. But anyway, long story. Sorry. I flew them all to the Philippines for the first time. And it was amazing because it woke them up. They live in America where, things are accessible, food is fast and cheap, and an iPhone is a luxury, not a necessity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when they went there, they realized that all these things that we take for granted is pretty much the third thing on these people's minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this is a recent trip that you took to the Philippines?
Yeah. It was last year. And it was amazing. And
how big was your group? How many total people did you bring
Oh my
over?
God. I fly deep, Seth. So it's about 14 to 16 deep.
Wow. And that's sort of nieces and nephews for you as well?
All nieces and nephews. And you know what else? Oh, and sometimes cousins and ex-wife. And they live the life of luxury, man. Like I'm like Peter Pan type, whatever you want. If you can think it, it'll come to life. And it's like, it's that type of vacation. And I live vicariously through them because it's like when I was their age, I couldn't get that kind of stuff. And I'm like, just do it, man. This is why I work all year. So just go, have fun.
Yeah. What's an itinerary like when you go? Like how long is your trip and what are your highlights?
That one was 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Look at that.
3 weeks. First class, everything. Are you kidding? Like nothing worse than seeing a 15-year-old in a lay down bed.
Oh man, yeah.
Flying
They don't need
overseas
it.
going, the soup isn't hot enough. I'm like,
Yeah. That's bad.
yeah.
Did you, when you spend 3 weeks in the Philippines, do you move around the country? Are there different?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my sister Gemma, my beautiful sister Gemma, the one that, pretty much does everything for me, my day-to-day and runs Jo Koy. She's adopted, but we're very close. Even the family side is very close. Like that's my mom's childhood friends. We adopted from her. And we went to her, what they call province. It's called a province. So we flew to another island and we built a school there. Well, we built the road there and built the school out and built the library out. And I'm never public about this stuff that I do. You know what I mean? I don't like doing that because I hate it. You know what I mean? Like I don't look, I'm building a
pretty
school.
nice. It sounds
I think it's good. It also takes the sting out of the fact that you got a 15-year-old a first-class plane ticket. I think that it's nice. You're like, I also built a road, and then I built a school at the end of the road.
But I even told her, I was like, hey, no TV, no nothing. Like when I go to the Philippines, it's like, it's a thing. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people find out I'm there. So I knew if we went to the school, like I didn't want it to be public all over the place. And I just wanted to see it. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
And of course it went public. Everyone found out that I was going, but I had to show these kids that I'm not just doing comedy. Like we're doing more than that. You know what I mean? Like we're culturally, I'm trying to promote and shine light and give my mom a voice and give my sister a voice and let people know that, there's people here, you know what I mean? And let's give them an identity. And on top of that, there's a responsibility for me, with the position I'm in to be able to give back. And I wanted them to see that. I want these kids to see just how important a road is to get to this school because they can't ride their bicycles on this mountainside. They need a physical road. And, these kids were walking to school. And when it rains, because it's, it's tropical, it rains every other day. It's mud. You know what I mean? So it's like, the road was very, very important. So we had to build the road, and then we built, the basketball court and the library and all this stuff, stuff that they needed.
Now, how proud, how much does Mama Koy brag about her son when he goes back to her native land?
I mean, I think it's nonstop.
Yeah, okay.
Thank God.
I would hope so.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that would suck if I just flew first class and
Yeah, right.
and just got drunk every night and I was on the news.
Just checked into the Manila Four Seasons and then that's it. Like,
Does she still have deep family over there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I shouldn't say no. I should say yeah, because now they're all here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Through the years, they all eventually moved here. I think my favorite thing that I ever did was when I shot this special called In His Elements. I had a chance to shoot a third special for Netflix. And I asked them in the room if, is it cool if I just go to the Philippines and just showcase the Philippines? Like, can I just show what we eat? Can I show them what the town looks like? Can I show them what my people look like? Because I always describe my mom, but I want them to see what this place looks like because it's beautiful. And on top of that, they speak English. Like they speak fluent English and they know conversational English. They know humor. They love American entertainment. I guarantee you when we get there, they're going to get it. And my whole theme was, let me get some Filipino Americans that are trying to make it in the industry here in America. And let's bring them home so they can see where their parents are from and see where they left to come here so that you can have an opportunity. And, it was the best. I got to bring 3 comics that, finally got to see where their parents are from. Their parents came. It's emotional. Wow. You know what I mean? It was that was the whole purpose of that. And on top of that, I didn't get paid for it. You know what I mean? Like I did that out of I could have shot a third special, man. I could have shot it in Florida.
You have the jokes.
Yes.
You have the jokes.
I could have had a third special, but I didn't want to do it. I knew like this is an opportunity and I need to use this opportunity. And it was beautiful because I got this girl and her dad that was a producer and she was a rapper and all she wants to do is be a rapper and she lives in the Philippines and put her on that platform and she wrote the opening song to my special. Boom, she gets a Def Jam contract from the special. And that's all I wanted. You know what I mean?
Is it, when you mentioned those 3 comics had never been back, do you feel like that's common for a lot of Filipino Americans that they haven't gone back?
I think it's common for a lot of immigrant children that live in America. And I hopefully, my whole goal was like, maybe this is the blueprint. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see a Puerto Rican comic go back to Puerto Rico, man. You know what I mean? And just showcase and highlight that. And, Vietnamese, whatever it is that your parents are. Because it's hard to explain it to this generation now, Seth, Josh. Because like now with the internet, we're all kind of connected. But if you grew up in the 80s, it was rough, man, to see what my mom went through. Coming, just transplanting herself in America, in the 60s, the height of racism. She's looked at it a different way. She can't even watch TV. There's nothing that looks like her. You know what I mean? There's nothing that looks like her son because no one knows what the hell I am. You know what I mean? You're not Asian and you're definitely not white, but you're something. And so it's a struggle. And like there's this responsibility for me to be like, no, I made it in Hollywood. And now I'm going to go ahead and give what my mom has never had in this country, which is her identity. Like, let her see herself on TV for the first time. You know what I mean? Let her hear her accent. Let her see her food. Let her have a little representation on TV. And that's what that whole In His Elements was.
All right. So you're going to have one meal in the Philippines. What's the meal? What's the meal?
Chicken adobo.
Chicken adobo.
And you would love it.
I
by the
already
way.
love it.
I'll make it for you.
Great.
It's our pizza to Italians. It's how everyone has a signature dish. You know what I mean? Mongolian beef for Chinese people. Chicken adobo is the most amazing meal you'll ever have. If you try it, you'll go crazy.
Great.
So I'll make it for you.
Does your mom, when you were growing up, did she make a lot of Filipino food at home?
Yeah, because it's so easy to make. You know what I mean? It's like 4 ingredients, but it's like amazing. You know what I mean? It's like garlic, it's soy sauce, vinegar, a little bit of brown sugar. It's over with.
Great.
It's over with. Feed the kids.
When you're on this big trip, 3 weeks in the Philippines, I'm sure every day can't be looking at your road and your school.
Yeah.
Like, what are where do you go? What's like, are there excursions?
Oh,
that are
yeah.
like, we need to go see this, like these buildings or this beach or this. Like,
Please go to Boracay. Boracay is like, and I hope I'm saying it right, but it is, but there's so many beautiful resorts there and just like the best hotels. You know what I mean? I stayed at the Shangri-La. That's where you guys should stay. And it was just top notch. It's just beautiful. It's gorgeous. And you'll love Boracay. It's just amazing. And then, of course, Manila is beautiful. And I stayed at the Shangri-La there as well. And just like the shopping is just top notch. It's gorgeous. The people are so friendly. I think we just got nominated for like the happiest country, I think, or something like that. I really do. And as cheesy as that sounds, but when you go there, I swear, you're going to be like, hey, man, these people are happy.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Joe,
see the struggle that they're talking about.
If you're any representation of the Filipino people, I believe they're the happiest country.
Oh, thank you.
You're literally the most effervescent person I know.
Oh, I love you, Seth. You're the best,
When
man.
you were a child in Manila, you said you were
Yeah.
like running around with your cousins. Like, what does a group
Yeah.
of kids do in Manila? Like, are you?
Oh, man, bikes with no brakes. It's just like go run through the city. The American dollar was, I can't remember how much it was, but I remember for like 2 pesos, you know, you got, and you're going to laugh when I say it, but you get barbecue on a stick and you get a bag of soda because they put everything in bags, by the way, because they recycle the bottles. So they still do that, by the way. When you go to Manila, you'll see vendors on the side. You got a straw in a bag, drinking Coke. And it's just like, I remember as a kid, I'm like, you know what I mean? Just running through this town.
I mean, that's my.
8, 9.
If I told my kid they were going to have meat on a stick and a bag of soda, that would literally
Done.
be their greatest day. And then, is it true? Manila is just there's tons of stores, but they're all shoe stores. Imelda Marcos joke. Thank you. Topical.
Hilarious.
Topical.
So
And I'm
funny.
done. That's just for the older people who are listening.
That's so damn funny. That's so funny. There is a shoe pen.
It's not
You
true
know,
that it's funny, and it speaks to how nice you are.
It's so funny because I feel like every Filipino, and I'm generalizing, is a shoe head. And
Oh,
we've been
really?
shoe heads our
So
whole
at the
lives.
end of the day, Imelda is just representing
It's
her nation.
just, we all have a little bit of her blood, yeah.
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 I mean, you go to my closet right now, you're gonna be like, Joe, this is too many shoes. And I'm like,
You're right.
Yeah. Blame
you,
it on Imelda.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say something. We just got nominated for some awards. God, I got to look them up. But, you know, I produced, I don't know the name of the awards. I want to, though. I want to shout this out because it's a huge moment.
Well, obviously,
But,
it meant a lot to you.
It did, because I just
Yeah,
got
sure.
it today. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it was about the Marcos, administration and the people rising. And it was called Here Lies Love.
Are these awards they emailed you about and asked for your social security number, Joe? Because-
yeah. No, but Here Lies Love was a musical that I produced
yes, of course.
on Broadway.
With, David Byrne.
Yes, and he crushed it. And we just got nominated for some awards, and so I'm so happy and honored, and because it was the first all Filipino cast about a Filipino,
Yes.
story, and it was on Broadway, and it was
In an
it was
old
amazing.
disco.
Old disco. It was, and of course, a lot of singing. So that made a lot of Filipinos proud.
Had you produced a Broadway show before, Joe?
That was my first time ever producing anything like that at that magnitude. It was incredible. I didn't know what it took to run a musical, and holy shit, if I could curse,
Yeah.
I don't know how they exist. I really don't know how it is.
It is crazy.
It is
right?
a lot. It's a lot, and God bless all of them.
Well, it's so funny because you obviously understand exactly how a stand-up can exist
Yes,
because it's just one dude and a microphone.
yeah,
And then the theater takes a cut and you get the rest. And then you see a Broadway show and you just watch it. You go same stage, all these people, all these sets. I get it. I don't know how they make it work.
yeah. I don't know how they do it, but God bless them because Yeah, that's New York, Broadway.
It's still the coolest thing in the world.
It
To see a
is.
Broadway
It
show
really
is
is.
the best. Did
Yep.
you ever come? Did you ever come to New York City when you were a kid?
Never.
Okay.
Nope. When I was a kid, the furthest I went was Seattle.
Gotcha.
From Tacoma. We never went on vacation.
Tacoma to Seattle's how long does that take you?
35 minutes.
Great. And what's a vacation in quotes? But what is a trip to Seattle when you're a kid?
When I was a kid, it was going to, they say now, the original Starbucks was there. We never went.
Yeah. Well,
We never went to that.
We're gonna go get coffee.
We're gonna get coffee. I just found out that this thing's there. But I used to go to Pike's all the time with my dad, and it was
fish
always
market.
a bagel. Yeah, the fish market is amazing. And the coolest moment was just recently, last month I played Climate Pledge Arena, which used to be the old Seattle Coliseum where the Sonics played. And that's where I saw Eddie Murphy perform. I was 15 when he did Raw, when he was on tour with Raw. And I was 15. No Ticketmaster.com. I had to buy them on the phone. Ticketmaster used to be a kiosk inside of a department store, and I had to buy it on the phone, which is crazy because the security system back then was just trust the voice. If it sounds like the owner of the credit card, it's the owner of the credit card. So, my mom's name is Josephine. So, yeah, I used my mom's voice to purchase those tickets. 1,000,000%.
Did you roll solo to that show?
No, it was me and my friend.
Okay.
And my mom drove us, which really freaked. She had no idea she was taking us to a comedy show. She thought I was going to an Eddie Murphy movie. And she's like, why is this so far?
Wow.
Why are we going to Seattle? I didn't want to tell her until we got there. And then she had to drop us off. And then telling people that is like also another thing. Like you tell a kid that, like, yeah, she had to drop us off. What's the big deal, Dad? Just get an Uber. There was no Uber.
And then I would assume she had to get you home too. Did
She had to drive around the Coliseum for 2 hours until I got out. And we had to meet at a spot because there is no cell phone. Meet me at the telephone pole.
That probably wasn't an all ages show. Like if you're 15,
No.
but it was just no one's going to check.
No one checked.
Yeah.
Best day of my life, man. I saw Paul Mooney that day too.
Wow.
Paul Mooney opened for me. He had this big pink fedora. And I just remember like, this dude's wearing a pink fedora. Who is this? This is amazing.
Now we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors.
This episode of Family Chips is supported by the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Hey, Pashi.
Yeah, Sufi.
From muddy jungle paths and snowy trails to rolling sand dunes, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has the capability to take you to some of the most epic destinations on Earth.
Oh man, we are excited to once again partner with Nissan because, as our listeners know, this podcast, Family Trips, is occasionally a podcast about trips and about the joy of having adventures and exploring new places, and making memories.
And if you're one of our listeners who doesn't know the podcast is called that, what is the holdup? There's no better vehicle for chasing bigger, better, more exciting adventures than the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder with 7 drive modes. The Pathfinder's available intelligent 4-wheel drive is built for even the most epic journeys.
This thing can tow. A Nissan Pathfinder can tow, Suf, so you can bring the fun with you.
Yeah. How many pounds would you say?
6,000.
Oh boy, that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun to tow. Nissan also knows it's not just about where you go in a Pathfinder. The real fun comes from getting there.
Ooh, now that is well said, Sufi.
Thank you.
Whether getting there is a new physical place or just the end of an amazing story told by one of our guests.
That's why we're excited to partner with Nissan to celebrate adventures everywhere.
So thanks again to Nissan for supporting Family Trips and for the reminder to chase bigger, better, more exciting adventures. And enjoy the ride along the way. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent 4-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
Here we go.
Did you know then that this is what you wanted to do at 15? You knew?
I knew what I wanted to do when Delirious came out.
And then when did your mom know, do you think?
I told her right out of high school. I was going to college for about 6 months. And then I was just like, Mom, I barely passed high school.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this college thing?
Yeah.
Was she heartbroken or did she understand?
Cried because I was the last one.
Gotcha.
And none of them went to college. And when I said I didn't want to go, it just, I failed as a mother, Joseph. You're supposed to go to college and be a nurse.
What did you say you were going to study? What was the plan if you were going to follow through?
I told her I was going to get into, this is so funny, poli-sci. And I don't even know why I said it.
Yeah.
I think all my friends were in poli-sci, so I was just like, oh, poli-sci.
I think it only exists to be the name of a major.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It just feels like a thing where
Yeah.
when you tell your parents how expensive it is, it sounds like it would cost that much.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I was so happy to get out. And it took off fast for me. Like,
Well, I'm very happy on your mom's behalf that it took off fast. When did it sink in for her that, okay.
oh, wait, hold on, Seth. It didn't take off fast financially.
Okay.
But
Hold on.
you were busy.
Oh, I was living with my mom till I was 31.
Oh, great. So she was probably, so she was
And-
like crestfallen for like
Oh.
a full 11, 20, 11, 13 years.
Yeah, she's just like, go back to school.
How about this? Just do poly or just do sci. You don't have to
Pick
do both.
one. But yeah, but it took off as far as like getting into the rooms and you know,
You're living with her in Washington?
yeah. No, in Vegas.
So when did she move to Vegas with your stepdad?
Right out of high school, we moved to Vegas. My grandmother had cancer, so we all moved to Vegas to be with her.
Okay.
You know, they were like, "Oh, she's gonna be gone pretty soon, so let's move to be with her." And that was 1989, and she went on for 6 more years. I'm like, we could have stayed in Tacoma, man. It's hot as shit out here.
Was Vegas, at least it seems like, tell me if I'm wrong, Vegas is a better place to start a new comedy career than Spokane would be?
Not in that town. It was awful in 89. There was no Mirage. There was no nothing. It was still old Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So it was very old Las Vegas. Like I was there when they blew up the Mirage, blew up the dunes and blew up all the Marina Hotel. Like Hacienda, which is now Mandalay Bay. Like I was there during that time. Lance Burton was the headliner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
You'll never forget Lance
I'll never
Burton.
forget Lance Burton. And,
The first time I ever went to Vegas, I forget what hotel we were in, but it was where Lance Burton was playing. And every time you'd get in an elevator, they would say, "You'll never forget Lance Burton." And I've never forgotten him.
you never forgot him.
Very effective. Very effective slogan.
But I started performing. It was so hard because they would only book headliners, and it was 7 days a week. So even the comedy club, they had an improv there inside Harrah's, and it was a 7-day-a-week Harrah's. So it was like headliner comes in on Monday, leaves on Sunday, new headliner on Monday. There was no open mic nights, and there was hardly any comedy clubs. There was no headliners that came to do comedy. It was always kind of like the retired, like almost retired, almost. You know what I mean? No one that's new. It was kind of like the
So
older.
you
it was
weren't
like
even
Rich
learning.
Little.
You
Yeah.
weren't learning from the up and comers.
No. So it was like I had to build my own stuff. Like I started renting out theaters and I started renting out this theater called the Huntridge Theater, and that's where I would do all these shows myself. And I would sell tickets. I would get sponsors to pay for the shows, fly these comics out. But the way I got into stand-up is, the way I got TV is because I found out that remember BET, Black Entertainment Television? They used to have a show called Comic View. And I was in love with it. D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, that's where they blew up on. And I was such a fan of BET's Comic View. And it came to Vegas. It was called BET on the Road, Comic View on the Road. And they wouldn't put them in the main hotels. Like black comedy wasn't in the main theaters, or they weren't putting black headliners in the major hotels. So it was at this place called the Country Star Restaurant. It was the craziest thing. And I'm like, Comic View's at the Country Star Restaurant. Okay. And I literally was a tour guide at this habitat. And I literally drove home sweaty. I had no air conditioning, put my suit on, drove back to the Country Star, walked up with a fake resume, and walked up to security guard. Never has a security guard ever helped anybody. And I was like, hey, I'm a local comic. I just want to talk to the promoter. Can I go up? And he goes, hold on, I'll be right back. There's a line wrapped around the building, by the way. And he leaves the door and he goes and get Yvette Anderson, who's the promoter, who I still remember to this day, because you'll never forget Yvette Anderson. And I literally, she came up to the door. She was like, we already got our comics, but if you want to come watch the show, you can. And she brought me in. All the comics were late. I'll leave it at that. You fill in the blanks. All of them were late, about 40 minutes late. And literally the crowd starts getting crazy, like getting mad because the show hasn't started. And she walks up to me. She goes, do you want to warm up? Do you want to warm the show up? And I was like, oh my God, yeah. And she put me on stage. I still got the videotape, by the way, because she had this big giant camera. I go, if you record me, I'll definitely go up. And she goes, all right. And she set it up and she put me up. I did like 6-7 minutes. People stood. It was crazy. And I got off stage and literally the guy that was closing the show was like, hey, his name's Bo P. And he goes, have you ever heard of Comic View? I go, of course I love Comic View. I go, that's why I'm here. And he's like, you're going to be on. We're going to talk to the producers. And literally 2 weeks later, I was filming Comic View.
That's unbelievable. I love that the jumping off point was a security guard who thought his job was to be helpful.
Was that crazy?
Yeah.
To this day, no security guard has ever helped me.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing, man. I still remember what he looks like. He was just this big, and I don't know what it was, but just this big dude. He was massive. And I remember handing this little folder to him, like, do you mind? I'm a local comic. Yeah, I'll be right back.
I like to think that they said to him, hey, obviously don't let in any bad customers, but if you see a kid with moxie, bring him on back.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
Best
that thing
day of
of
my
like
life.
that luck is just being ready for when the moment arrives, and you had prepared yourself. You probably, I'm sure you didn't think it was going to happen that night, but you had 6 or 7 minutes, and
man.
So yeah, that
was the best, and that's how I got into the black, like the black college comedy tour is what they called it back then, and I met all these black comics because back then improvs weren't booking black headliners. So it's like they were doing like colleges and you know what I mean? And diversity was needed. They can't just have all black comics. They needed somebody else. They needed an other. And I was other. So it's like, they book a JB Smooth in like 1997 or 96. And they're like, hey, do you have like a white comic? Like, oh, we got Jo Koy. So I'm opening for JB Smooth. Do you have an Asian comic? Oh, I got Jo Koy. You got a Mexican? You got Jo Koy. You know what I mean? I was opening for Sabor and Mike Epps and JB Smooth. And
early in my time at SNL, I was the token white stand-up at a black comedy night at like Middle Tennessee State.
That's
and
crazy.
It was a haunting evening.
Yeah.
The only thing anyone there knew about me was the show SNL, right? Like when they said from Saturday Night Live, people got really excited. And then a person they'd never seen before came out.
That's hilarious. So they're like, oh, so it's not Will Ferrell?
Nope. They were like, oh, the white guy from SNL? And then it's like, yeah, the 11th white guy.
The 11th white guy. That's hilarious.
But I will say, I rode over in a stretch limousine with all the comics, and it was truly one of the great rides of my life. As far as how hard I was laughing.
Yeah. That's the truth too, by the way.
It was the best.
They were my favorite. Those were my favorite shows, by the way. All of them. Every single one. There was never a bad night.
Wasn't that show, Seth, also, it was a clean show, but you didn't get
Nobody
that
told
note?
Me. Nobody told me.
And then
also,
they told you afterwards.
I rode over in a limousine, Joe. It was the worst language I've ever heard in my life. And then I walk on stage and just dropped. I'm not like a dirty comic, but I dropped an F-bomb and like the audience gasped.
Oh.
And I was like, why? And they were like, it's a clean show. I'm like, nobody told me. Also, it certainly wasn't a clean limo ride.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing about those shows is you realize, whatever you think killing is, there's 7 more layers.
Oh, there's so many layers.
That these comedians are capable of. For me, it was such a reminder, like, the way they're killing is going to take me decades.
Yes. It's so, I love that you said that because once again, I'm going to go back to my age and be like, people know JB Smooth now from Curb, but they don't know that, when I knew him, he only had one set on Def Jam. And he was making a career out of the 5 minutes that he blew up on Def Jam. Yeah. There was no Curb. It's just, that guy from Def Jam. And that's who I was opening for. But even myself, all I knew was his Def Jam set. I didn't know he had 45 more minutes on top of that Def Jam set. That was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is electric. And so when I became friends with him, which Seth,
yes.
JB is the sweetest guy in the world.
He genuinely is, yeah.
He is. And when we became friends, I told him I had this room in Vegas. He goes, I'll do it for you, Joseph. Yeah, I'll do it for you. Let's go. I'll go to Vegas. And I brought him out to Vegas. And my dad, the most white man you'll ever meet from Buffalo, New York, biggest Carlin fan. You know what I mean? Like, that's all he knows is George Carlin. You know what I mean? And here comes JB Smoove. And I remember my dad pulling me to the side. He goes, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's like, what is this? This is amazing. Because he's never seen the physicality, the facial expressions, the act outs, the way the crowd was reacting. I'm telling you, man, old JB Smoove, and new JB Smoove is amazing too, but I'm just saying.
Yes.
He came from somewhere. He didn't just start.
JB Smoove, that hungry JB Smoove before Curb. Woo, it was electric, man.
Also, JB, who looks exactly the same the entire time. He might very well be 200 years old. And just
200 years old.
But the other thing about JB, and I know we're getting a little off track, JB was a writer for a couple years when I was at SNL. And JB in the pitch would just basically do 3 minutes. Everybody would be like, I have this sketch idea, I have this sketch. And then JB would just crush with 3 minutes. And I remember one of the first times, I think maybe the first time I met Larry David, I said, the thing of all your accomplishments, the thing that I am most impressed with is you realized, I'll just let JB be JB.
Yeah.
And I'll look like the smartest person in the world because he realized, here's how you make JB work. Just let JB be JB.
JB, yeah, exactly. Dude, that's such a great idea, by the way, if you just did a thing called pitches. Just to see those pitches.
I mean, JB, I think you can go on YouTube if you're listening, and I think JB has now started just pitching his old SNL sketches. I remember one of my favorite was a guy with a really long cigarette. The ash was really long, and he never ashed it. That was a JB pitch. He had a pitch about Spider-Man and Superman's dry cleaning got mixed up.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but again, I multiply by 1,000 when JB is acting it out. Obviously,
100%. I went off track on that.
That's okay. Right. That's okay. We've got some research that says you take a semi-standard annual trip to Hawaii. Is this true?
Always. That's so true. And I gotta fly the family out again.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
it's a must.
What do you guys like to do out in Hawaii? Just kick
back?
That
one is another one that we love because no rent-a-cars, but we'll have them. We'll have the Jeeps for sure. But it's all about scooters, and it's just a gang. It's just 15 of us on a scooter. And
when you say scooter, you mean like a Vespa or like one of those electric?
The Vespas. And we're running that town, man. We own that. We own that town.
Where you go?
Those
what
are
town?
Our hogs, bro.
Are you in Honolulu? We're
in Honolulu. Sometimes we're in Maui. You know what I mean? But like now that they're older, they like to go to Honolulu more for like the late nights. Maui's more, it's done at 10.
How old is the youngest in your crew?
Well, now they're all 21.
Okay. Oh, so,
yeah, they're all 21. My son, in fact, just turned 21 2 days ago, so he was the last.
Gotcha.
So he had his first drink 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just, what's so funny is finding out he was in a strip club at 15, and I'm just like, huh?
Right. Well, at least he didn't make you drive around the strip club for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Come pick me up in 2 hours, Dad.
Yeah. It's so funny that our parents were in such denial. And it's just like, you were doing it when you were 15 too. So why are you acting like this? Stop. So like, but the strip club I did not know about. It was like later when I found out about that. But it's just so funny that, he's 21, but it's probably like his, this is probably his 15th bottle.
Yeah.
He polished off.
So what part of your life did you realize Hawaii was going to be your annual?
I fell in love with Hawaii when I opened for Mario Joyner so long ago. And just the way people were just like, they're the island. They are the island. When they say aloha, they really mean that. That's not like a joke. And they're not being, they're not being cheesy. They really are aloha. They carry aloha. Like that's what they do. It's all about take care of your neighbor. We're in this together. They really are like that. Like if you help somebody in town, like say you go to this restaurant and oh God, if you buy out the restaurant and help them out, it will make the other people at another restaurant so happy that you did that. Instead of like trying to find out how they can get the business over to their place. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's genuine. Like, oh, brother, what you did for blah, blah, blah. That, wow, man, we really appreciate that. Wow. Like, it's like a genuine spirit that you took care of this local and help them out. And you don't know what that means. Like, it's going to help them. So it's like when you see it and feel it, you're like, oh, these people really are a community. They really are loving people. And I say it all the time, like, don't go anywhere else. Go to Hawaii and it will reset you. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you're going through, when you step foot on that beach and talk to a local, it'll reset you and you'll get that aloha spirit. I truly believe it, generally. That and the Philippines, you feel the happiness and the kindness and you see that they're more about each other and the place that they're from. That's why when they move to other places, they can't get rid of that aloha. Like when you meet a Hawaiian anywhere, you feel it. It's the way they talk. It's the way they talk. Joke around with you. You feel it. That was a lot. That was a lot. And I guess I work for the Department of Tourism now.
Well, I know you've had some very successful run of shows in Hawaii. And I know they're hot everywhere. You have one place to walk on stage. Where are you going to get the hottest Jo Koy crowd? One show only.
One show only? It would be the Blaisdell Theater.
In
Where's
Hawaii.
that?
Honolulu.
In Hawaii.
Okay.
The Blaisdell Theater. That place is legend.
Great.
That's their Apollo. That's their whatever.
Is there a Jo Koy Day?
Yeah, there is a Jo Koy Day, November 24th.
Yeah, I mean, I guess wherever they name a day after you, that's probably going to be a good spot for you.
It was, that was
but
pretty
the Hawaiian
crazy.
in Hawaii, they pronounce it Joseph Herbert Day.
Yeah, they call me Joseph Herbert Brada Joseph. But yeah, that was a crazy run. I sold out. I think I sold 12 shows out in a row, and I beat Mariah Carey's record by like 500 tickets. That was incredible. That was so nuts when that happened.
Did you just to loop back to something you said early on? How often do you do shows for military? How often do you?
Not enough.
Yeah, I would imagine you would be a perfect person, especially being a child of someone who served.
Yeah, but now I'm gonna. I already told my manager and stuff, so we're putting some in right now. That's so funny that you said that. So we are looping some in as we speak, because I do want to give back to the military.
Have you gone to some very far off places with like USO shows? Have you done?
Oh my God,
like
I've never done I didn't do Afghanistan. I didn't do any of that.
Okay.
I think the hardest one for me was the one of Georgia, and it was God, man, that was tough, man. They were sweet, but it's man, the smile on their faces, like you could tell that they were going through a lot. You know what I mean? That one's rough. It's the Marines. And the joy on their faces. And I remember they were a little rowdy at first. And I remember they were walking around and trying to settle down. And I remember telling myself on stage, like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. One, they'll kill me. So don't do that. And two, it's like, just let them, bro. Like, go ahead, bro. Like, you were drowning in the water for 20 minutes because you had to. So yeah, let's go. Let's open this up. And it was the best day of my life. They put me in one of their barracks. I was like, oh my God. is this a metal bed? Like, what are we doing now? Like, is my shower really the kitchen? Like, what is going on right now?
They're like, this is the Georgia Shangri-La.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it Fort Benning? Is that
I can't remember, man.
We'll get it right. We'll get it right somewhere in the show notes.
Shout out to the military and shout out to the Marine Corps, man. It's tough, man. It's
All right.
tough.
Well, now it's been such a delight talking to you, Joe. And now it is time for Josh to ask you the questions we ask all of our guests.
Oh, boy.
So
Here it
prepare
comes.
yourself.
Yes.
Here we go, Joe. You can only pick one of these. Is your ideal vacation relaxing, adventurous, or educational?
Man, it is for me to relax, and it's for the kids to be educated.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want them to walk away without at least learning a lot from where they stayed.
Yeah.
And appreciating it where they stayed.
Well, from the stories you've told, that strikes me as rings true to me.
Yes.
What is your favorite means of transportation? Train, plane, automobile, boat, bike?
It's got to be plane. Always plane.
Okay.
And it's got to be first class. I'm sorry if it sounds... It is a luxury.
I think it would sound insincere if you said it's got to be coach.
It's got to be coach, and it's got to be middle seat by a bathroom. But yeah, it's got to be. I have to, and I have sleep apnea, man. So when I'm traveling 14 hours, I got to plug in, man.
You're actually doing a favor to the people in coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody wants your weak ass apnea.
Yeah. Seth, if I slept in coach, they would be like, "Can someone put him in first class?"
They would squeeze the apnea tube.
I flew coach recently, and I was in a middle seat, and I had a friend who they like jogged seats around in the morning. They were like, "You're on a different plane now, so that your seat's not your seat anymore." I was still in middle seat, and I moved to be next to my friend, and then this girl came on, and she's like, "I think you're in my seat," and I was like, "Do you mind just going 2 rows back and taking that middle seat?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess." And I was like, "Okay." And then she went back and someone else had moved and was like, "I'm actually in another middle seat." And she's like, "Oh, hell no." She's like, "I'm just trying to get home." And it's like, you're still going to get home. And
Yeah.
I realize you're being asked from a middle seat to a middle seat to a middle seat, but you haven't sat down yet.
Yeah.
And she's like, "This guy already screwed me out of my seat." And I'm like, "Screwed you out of your seat?" Like, I wanted to sit next to my friend.
Yeah. By the way, middle seats, everyone's screwed.
Yeah.
It's a middle seat.
Yeah. And then
That's so
someone
funny.
someone came around and was like, "Do you want like cookies or pretzels?" And she was like, "Diabetic." And I was like, "You could just say no."
Yeah.
Anyhow.
What is the attitude on a plane, by the way?
I don't know. Just,
What is it?
I'm just going to jump in and say I think you should stay where you are and don't sit with your friends.
Yeah. You didn't really talk to your friend the whole flight anyway.
We did talk a lot, but not too
All
much.
right.
Not enough to be annoying. She watched a movie. I had to do some work. All right. If you had to take a vacation with any family, alive or dead, real or fictional, other than your own family, what family would you like to take?
Oh, like a whole
with?
family? What's
Yeah,
another
you want a
family?
Going on a family vacation, but not your family.
Wow, that's a tough one. I would say, that's a good one. Because there's 2 families. Can I say 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Wanye Morris from Boys to Men. He's like my best friend.
Great.
And he's just great. We're like this. We just hit on every level.
At the end of a trip with him, like, is it like hard?
We cry.
So it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Okay.
And his wife just sits there and looks at us like this. Are you guys done? We just hug and then we're just like, "I'll see you. All right, man. I'll see you." And then Joe Malash, my manager. But he's also my best friend. And I've known him for so long. And our chemistry is like, we're brothers, man. So it's just fun to be on the road because we're identical twins.
Great.
That's great.
If you had to be stranded on a desert island with one member of your family, who would it be?
Oh, my sister Gemma.
Great.
It does sound like Gemma's real A+.
Yeah. Because if Gemma's not on that island with me, I'm dead on Tuesday.
Yeah, that was coming.
I'm dead on
across.
Tuesday.
You don't for
You
all
also
your
got there on Tuesday.
I got there on Tuesday and I'm dead Tuesday night. Yeah.
for all of your accomplishments. It does not sound, based on this interview, that you're self-sufficient at all.
At all. At all. This was created by Gemma. Us talking
I
was
kinda,
Gemma.
at some point, almost expect to see Gemma's hand come in to give you like a bite of soup.
Yeah, and then wipe my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you consider Tacoma your hometown or Vegas?
Yeah, Tacoma's my hometown.
Would you recommend Tacoma as a vacation destination?
Oh, no,
Okay.
not at all.
Hard
Yeah,
nose.
I'm going to be honest. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, why lie?
Yeah.
But no, why are you going to go there? What for?
Okay.
But,
All right.
but Seattle, yes, go to Seattle. But Tacoma, no. I love Tacoma. It is blowing up now. They're putting money back into old downtown. I just sold out the Tacoma Dome. That was 22,500 people.
Woo.
And it was amazing. And the people are happy. When I was there, it was a little rough. There's this stereotype where they called it Tacoma aroma. And you really did smell it when you would drive through Tacoma to get to Seattle. And they had like this old paper mill that just made the whole town smell a certain way.
Yeah.
But you know what? Times are good. And I don't know why I just
Good.
told you
Tacoma's
that.
on its way back up. Still,
Tacoma's on its comeback.
if it's a coin flip between Hawaii and Tacoma.
It's Hawaii, man. It's Hawaii. Yeah. You don't even have to flip the coin.
And Seth has our final questions.
Jo Koy, have you been to the Grand Canyon?
Yes.
Is it worth it?
Man, no. Look, if you own a helicopter and you can get in and out in about 20 minutes, yes. But I'm not going to lie. The first time I went with my dad, we stood there for like 5 minutes. It was like that scene from Vacation when
course.
Chevy just looks at it. He's like, all right, let's go. It literally was that. And, but the second time we went, because my whole family, we're into aliens, man. We believe in aliens. So if you hate us, hate us. I don't care. But during the pandemic, we did this whole alien vacation where we went to Roswell. You know, this is when they shut down everything. So it was just my family in a tour bus. We went to Roswell. We went to White Sands. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Sedona. And it was cool because it was it was like this thing of like this, like feeling the energy and just seeing how beautiful and how grand Earth is and how small we are. And that was, and when you look at it that way, the Grand Canyon's beautiful because it is mesmerizing. You're just like, wow, this is here. And no
is
one's really
where
understanding it.
Aliens drop something.
It is.
Well-
it is.
Well, right now the
You
Grand
can call me
Canyon's like,
crazy, I
boy,
don't
we
care.
certainly didn't get the Hawaii bounce from Joe.
Yeah, exactly. I'm performing at the Grand Canyon, by the way.
Hey, you got a new
Crazy.
special coming out.
Yes.
Jo Koy. Live in Brooklyn? Is that what it's
live
called?
in Brooklyn at the King's. Oh,
The Kings. And you got a Brooklyn hat. Brooklyn Cyclones? Or no,
Oh, there
that's
it
The
is.
Kings Theater.
Brooklyn Dodgers.
Brooklyn Dodgers. Well, can't wait for that. That's coming out in June.
Yes, beautifully shot. It's amazing. Shout out to my director and my producers, Michelle and Shannon. They crushed it, and we've been on this journey together since Live from Seattle, and it's just this vision that we keep creating together, and I love them.
It's great. So great seeing you, Joe. Always a pleasure.
So
Seth,
much
you're
fun.
amazing.
Thanks, Joe.
Josh, you're amazing. Seth, I can't tell you how much I love you, bro. Thank you.
That's so kind of you to say, buddy.
You're the best, man. You really
We'll
are.
talk to you soon.
Love you. Bye.
All right, take care.
Love you, buddy.
Family trips with the Myers brothers.